I throw hands. I got kicked out of like 3 soccer games in college because of that. You know what? I'm not. You've been talking to me for 10 minutes now. Like, you know I'm nice. But if you rub me the wrong... I'm quick. Yeah, it flips fast.
Welcome into Scoop City. I'm the Athletics' Dianna Rossini.
And I'm Chase Daniel, played in the NFL for 14 years.
And the new host of The Facility on FS1. Congratulations. You guys are launching next week. This is a big deal, Chase. How are you feeling about it?
Yeah, it's awesome. You know, I'm really excited about the opportunity to do live TV every single day. So it's the closest thing to playing as far as an adrenaline rush you can get to. And it's fun. Yeah, I'm in the dressing room right now. I'd give you a tour, but I got this whole setup. I'll send a picture and make sure I send it to you. But it's cool. Like, I walked in today and there was like a picture of me on the dressing room. I'm like, what in the world?
Billboards
so it's crazy. Yeah,
in Times Square, pictures in the halls of Fox.
Yeah, and so we're doing like rehearsals right now. So we got a full dress rehearsal today. So we're knocking this out before, and there might be some times where you see me actually on set doing this show because it'll be a lot better production quality for you guys. So we're working on that too.
Yeah, why not? Well, they are lucky to have you, but just remember, I'm your work BFF. Don't trade me in yet. You know,
yes,
I know those guys are cool on that show, but we're the coolest here.
No doubt.
All right, here's the thing. So every single starting quarterback has been named. Roster cuts are done. Waiver claims complete. Holding in, holding out. What are we doing? Getting fined. And here's what they are actually doing. They are frustrating people who are drafting for fantasy. I was part of a draft recently, and nobody knows what to do with these guys because they don't know if they're going to be out there. Well, we're going to break it all down and give you some updates on where this whole thing stands. And teams are preparing for week 1. We are at that point now where we are less than a week away from some game action. So finally, we have some answers to things too. In Pittsburgh, specifically, Russell Wilson named the starting quarterback, and just in time, Chase, we got an exclusive interview with the play caller in Pittsburgh, because that's always the guy that's always getting the most heat, right? It's the offensive coordinator in Pittsburgh. So Arthur Smith joined the show just minutes after Russell Wilson was named starter. So it's all
big news
coming together perfectly. So he actually dives into the competition all summer. They know in Pittsburgh, Chase, that it was the story of the summer in terms of all the attention, you know?
100%.
So
yeah, I mean, I can imagine. Yeah, we'll get into it later, but I have some big thoughts.
Good.
On that quarterback competition.
All right, so we've got Arthur Smith, but we figured we're kind of closing out on this training camp tour. We've had so many great guests at the start of Scoop City here, so we figured we'd finish our training camp tour with our most memorable guest. It's Browns tight end David Njoku. Okay. I feel like I have to I'm warning the viewers and the listeners right now. I'm warning you. This thing is weird, but I
think it's hilarious, though.
Depends on how you hear it. I'm excited for you guys to listen to this. I'm excited for you guys to hear it. I want to get your thoughts, too. So make sure you guys check us out on YouTube and put some comments in there, or just tweet Chase and I. I appreciate Njoku's confidence and comfort in his own skin. You don't always get that when you talk to players. So
yeah, he's very eclectic, to put it lightly.
Look at you using those big TV network words.
It's a good word, right?
Great word.
My wife taught me that. Let's be real.
Speaking of great words, let's get to it. Here's what I'm hearing around the league.
All right, Dianna, quarterback competitions are done. They're set, and they're ready to roll. Specifically, the New England Patriots and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Big announcements. What are you hearing on that?
All right, let's start with New England, because the plan has always been Jacoby Brissett. They named him the starter. Jacoby Brissett will start the season as the starting quarterback. That is why they brought him in. This has always been part of the plan, going back to when they drafted Drake Maye. They've been very consistent throughout the summer that they want Jacoby to start the season. The problem is Drake Maye went out and played really well in a lot of these practices and in a lot of the preseason games. So then you're faced with this conflict. And Jerod Mayo admitted it, that Drake Maye outplayed Jacoby Brissett at one point. So how do you move forward when the building knows perhaps the best quarterback is the rookie, but maybe the smart play long term is to play the veteran, especially looking at the type of defenses that they're going to have to face at the start of this year, right? They got the Bengals, they got the Seahawks, they got the Jets, they got the Niners. So internally, the conversations went, let's put out the veteran that's been there, that's played on multiple teams, who can manage the game and handle this offense, especially with a leaky offensive line right now, and protect Drake Maye. What do you make of the decision?
I mean, I have a lot of thoughts, particularly with Jacoby Brissett. He was paid $8 million this year, top-end backup money in the league, really behind Sam Darnold, but Sam Darnold's going to be the starter. Sam Darnold was signed to a $10 million deal. As far as Jacoby Brissett goes, you sort of know what you're going to get, and it's not great, it's not bad, it's in between. And I got to imagine, Dianna, and you could probably tell me more than this, this comes down to a decision that is offensive line based. So it's a very, I hate to use the word poor, but there's issues and there's skill deficiencies there that if you throw out a rookie quarterback in Drake Maye and he gets pummeled and continually beat up time and time again, it can play into his confidence. So I can imagine this is something of a mindset that the front office was pushing, specifically Gerard Mayo. You can tell he's a culture changer. They're doing things completely different than when Bill Belichick was there. It was time for a change, a welcome change. I just got to think, and maybe you know, how long is the leash on Jacoby Brissett? Because eventually Drake Maye's going to play. And if they start 0-5, is it the season a wash and you just play Drake Maye to play him? Or what's your thoughts on that? What are you hearing in terms of how long of a leash Jacoby Brissett has?
So we're talking about timing, right? And how much time are each of these quarterbacks going to get? If you want to talk about timing, the area that you need to focus on is the timing of the offensive line. If they are able to improve their protection and have some consistent play out there, I think that's when the New England Patriots would be more comfortable making that switch. A lot of this decision has to do with the fact that the protection hasn't been great. They don't want the rookie to get hurt. They don't want to put him in a position where he's going to just get absolutely crushed, as we mentioned, with these defenses that are stout, that are some of the best in the league. But I don't think it's as clear-cut around the league in terms of what the Patriots are doing. I've had people in the division mention to me that they think they should roll out with the rookie, and that's not to have the advantage to beat them. That's not.
It's an advantage to beat them. That's what he's saying. Like, play Drake Maye.
It's just philosophy, right? Because I do think a lot of organizations look at the Green Bay Packers. They say Love sat, Rodgers sat. The difference there is, though, they sat because they had good players in front of them.
Amazing players
right?
in front of them.
Amazing. Hall of Famers.
Yeah.
Jacoby Brissett, love him. Not a Hall of Famer, right? He's not better than Drake Maye, some would argue, right? So it is not the identical situation there. So there are some thoughts that play your guy, play your top draft pick, and let him figure this out.
That makes sense. So for me, it comes down to film study, because I studied all 6 first-round quarterbacks. Drake Maye, obviously number 3 off the board. Bo Nix was the 6th quarterback taken in the draft. He's starting day one. He's in a better situation, I believe, with Sean Payton in that offense. But you go back to Drake Maye, and when you study the film, the word that really jumps out to me is raw, and he needs some time to develop. So, I think if I was a media member today in New England, I'm asking Gerard Mayo, what's your plan for development in practice for Drake Maye? That's a big issue, because really these guys, I hate to say it, you cannot develop in practice. You have to play actual football games, and he did. He played football games well in the preseason. He put together good tape, but what's the practice plan look like? Is he going to get reps with the ones in regular season, which usually is not the case? The starter should get every single rep. So you're running scout team. You're not even running your offense. I want to make sure our viewers and our listeners understand that Drake Maye is going to be running Cincinnati's offense. He's going to be playing Joe Burrow the first week of the season on scout team, so he's not running those plays. Is he going to have a quarterback coach stay after in practice and handle that? All questions that are yet to know. But I like the decision to start Jacoby Brissett. Let's move on to the Pittsburgh Steelers, where Russell Wilson became the starter. Dianna, you were on the ground all day yesterday. Was it ever a true competition? I really don't think it is.
I know you don't think it is, but I'm just going to share with you what they told me. This was a competition from day one. And the problem that we saw was Justin Fields played well, and he took advantage of when Russell Wilson was injured with that calf injury, but he didn't do enough to win the job. They evaluated these quarterbacks every single day and made it fair, from what I was told, in terms of go get it. Whoever wants this job, go grab it. And nobody did. So in the end, it winds up going to Russell Wilson, who is the veteran, who's been through this before, who's been in the league long enough to manage and handle what he's being asked to, while Justin Fields is continuing to work on his confidence, right? Because that's something that I think people assume every quarterback is just confident because they're playing in the NFL. Not when you were in Chicago and it ended the way it did, when you were basically dumped, moved out on, and replaced with now Caleb Williams, who's already shown us that he could potentially be incredible. So you think Justin Fields' confidence level played a factor in this? Like he's not playing as well or as confident as he should be? I think it's a project. I think it's a work in progress. Wow. And they like what they're seeing from Justin. That was my other big takeaway from being around the Steelers is this isn't a clear celebration of, yeah, Russell's our guy. He won it. This was close. Russell Wilson makes the most sense to us in terms of starting this season off, right? They face the Atlanta Falcons to open up, and then they face the Denver Broncos. I know. It's Sean Payton. I'm just glad that Russell Wilson is starting so I can get the Sean Payton, Russell Wilson revenge game. And you got to imagine, Dianna, and this is a bigger conversation, like what does this do for Russ's legacy if he cannot perform well and he gets benched halfway through the season? Like that's another thing, right? He played 10 seasons in Seattle, 9 Pro Bowls, a Super Bowl, an NFC Championship game. I don't think it tarnishes his legacy, but you got to imagine, like he lives right down the road from me. His kids go to the same school as my kids do, and so we see each other when he was in summer quite a bit. And Sierra is like in the drop-off line, like it's crazy. Like we have conversations. We've gone to the same Christian conference together. We know each other, and obviously never talked about this, but you got to imagine like, hey, how many more chances is this Russell Wilson guy going to get? Because next year, he's turning 37 in the season next year. Not much more left. Yeah. I don't think there's much left, and I think Pittsburgh knows that. I think that came into play here. Look, it's the right decision in terms of starting him because you can't really start Justin and go to Russ and then go back to Justin. That's like ship has sailed. It's a smart move by Tomlin. You can start Russ and then you can go to Justin, who, by the way, is going to be the most popular guy in town as soon as the Steelers struggle, because as a backup quarterback, that's usually the case. And what happens, you can then go back to Russ and then hopefully Russ is the savior. So it's just an interesting dynamic for the Steelers. Yeah, and you look back at the preseason games, and you did such a great job of breaking down Justin. It became a little bit of an addiction of mine because I knew how invested you became. You really, it was nothing against Russell, but I think you saw that Justin had something. And you talk about that confidence level, and you look at some of the fumbles in preseason, and you wonder if that's connected, right? You wonder if that's maybe part of this as they go to continue to build him, and really to sort of bring this Patriots and Steelers conversation together. I do think it's really interesting that you bring up the importance of practice, but how it truly doesn't translate to the game action, because now we're going to see 2 backup quarterbacks potentially playing this season, right? These are going to be 2 cities. They're going to follow it all year long. We're going to be talking about New England and Pittsburgh a lot here on Scoop City because the second things go, off the rails here, we're going to be discussing, can Justin Fields do it? But here's the thing with Justin Fields. One more note before we move on here. Justin Fields is not going to be sitting on the bench with a clipboard in his hand. Justin Fields is going to be part of this offense, and Arthur's.
They got packages?
Oh yes, I got Arthur to talk to me about it. So we, yes, I'm going to divulge all of that coming up in that interview with Arthur in just about 5 minutes.
Let's move on to Taylor Heinicke. You broke this story, the news. It was a buzzing on Twitter last night, X, whatever you want to call it. Taylor Heinicke got traded from the Atlanta Falcons to the Los Angeles Chargers. This calls into a little bit of an issue, Herbert's health. What are you hearing in terms of Taylor Heinicke going to LA? Is he the backup? Will he start if Justin Herbert continues to be hurt?
Yeah, this had everything to do with fixing the backup quarterback situation. We saw it on display. You saw it on display.
Ethan Stick. Yeah, it was a rough watch.
Thank you. I wanted you to quickly paint that picture.
I love him. I was in the room with him for 2.5 years. Still think he's got really good potential. But yeah, look, it's a new scheme. It's everywhere. They rolled him out there. He played a lot. Probably just didn't live up to what they wanted in a backup quarterback.
Correct. And Heinicke has done a really good job stepping into different offenses and learning quickly. He's a really quick learner. It's why Atlanta liked him. It's why Washington liked him. And the Chargers are hoping for that same result. And yeah, of course there's concerns about Justin Herbert's foot. We've talked about this on the show about this type of injury and how long it can last and how it can nag him all season long. So making sure the backup quarterback is set and can quickly jump in here in case it's needed, a break glass situation, it actually makes a lot of sense.
I just got to imagine he's going to have some time to get up to speed, and it better be really quickly because that Jim Harbaugh offense right there with Greg Roman, it's not easy to learn. It's wordy. He's going to have his work cut out for him. It'll be interesting, in my opinion. I don't know. Maybe will he dress week 1 as the backup, even though he just got there?
Yeah, they haven't made that decision yet. They haven't at least revealed that to any of us. But you have to figure, let's see how this next week goes. I'm sure they want to see what he can do before they make that call. So, that's why the next week will be a lot of stuff is going to shape up over the next 4 or 5 days.
Yeah, that makes sense. Let's move on to the Cleveland Browns, which we seem to talk a lot about in this show. They were unable to trade a quarterback. They cut and released Snoop Huntley, which I think is a great dude. They kept 4 on the deadline. Why weren't they able to trade Jameis? That was the word around town. What happened with that?
Yeah, let's be clear here. They were shopping Jameis Winston. They were shopping Tyler Huntley. They were shopping everybody but Deshaun Watson and DTR because he had such a great camp, right? That appears to be how they're going to set this up. Deshaun will be the starter and DTR will be the backup and Jameis will be third. But with that in mind, though, for a landscape right now with teams looking for backup quarterbacks, it just appeared like the Browns couldn't get in. They couldn't get a deal done. Yeah. So, which is why on Thursday, it came out that Tyler Huntley was released because they don't want to carry 4 quarterbacks on the roster. They don't need that. They spent a lot of time.
You got to imagine teams. You got to imagine teams know. Okay, you're trying to trade one of your 4 quarterbacks. We're not bluffing. We're not giving up a draft pick when someone's going to be on the market.
Yeah, exactly. So, and teams didn't know that. I had conversations with teams that the Browns spoke with, and they weren't doing business with them because they knew they were going to wind up cutting Snoop. So we'll see where Snoop lands. Ravens Pro Bowler, so he has ability.
He was a Pro Bowl. I saw on Twitter a Ravens or a Pro Bowl jersey that had Huntley on the back, and I totally forgot that he made a Pro Bowl. Let's continue with the Browns. Okay, Joe Flacco, former Super Bowl MVP. Why in the world, with all this situation about DTR and Jameis and Snoop, they had a really good quarterback in Joe Flacco. Why did they not sign him back?
We are going to ask that question and come back to that conversation a lot this year. That's my instinct because we saw how Joe Flacco was able to lead that team. He was able to run Kevin Stefanski's offense with comfort. He seemed that he loved being in Cleveland. I had a great conversation with his agent, Joe Linta, during the Senior Bowl. And Joe was explaining how much his client, Joe, loved being there. He wanted to be in Cleveland. And he couldn't force them to sign him. The Browns organization made a decision. They wanted to go in a different direction, which wound up
Was he viewed as a threat to Deshaun Watson?
I don't know if that's the exact reason, but I think we are both smart people that can observe this situation and say, Joe Flacco.
Just say it.
Well, we know though, Joe Flacco. There were jerseys of Joe Flacco in Cleveland, right? like people loved him there. So I think there's a lot of confidence in what Deshaun Watson can do, but they are obviously doing everything they possibly can to give him a runway.
Makes sense.
With very little hitches, with little blocks in the road, mentally. And then also physically on the field with how they're building the roster, which is why we saw them trying to get involved in the Brandon Ayuk trade. They're doing things to build around Deshaun to give him the absolute best chance to have success. So would Joe Flacco be a problem for that psychologically for a player that is trying to build back up after just a really tough 4 years? I'd say that doesn't make a lot. Correct.
I'm going to say it, yes.
Have you ever been in a
absolutely
quarterback room where the backup had more flair, more confidence, more swag, more juice? And don't say you.
Well, every quarterback room I've been in, I've been the backup. So you're asking me personally if I've had more flair, juice stuff. So that's impossible to do. No,
Chase Daniels said he had more swag than Drew Brees.
No, no way. I mean, I definitely have more swag than Drew Brees. Let's just put that out there. It doesn't mean I'm a better player. There's no chance I'm a better player. He's got that dad outfit going. All right, quick before we move on. I just want to check in on the NFC South, specifically the New Orleans Saints. They have Derek Carr back for another year starter. Started off the year really poor. I'm going to use poor last year. Ended the last 4 games really, really well, playing some of the best ball of his career. But they drafted Spencer Rattler. What's the vibe down there in NOLA? All
right, so I'm so glad you used the word vibe because I love checking in with teams this time of year. Just like, what's the vibe? Give me the vibe, And the text I received was from someone in the building. It was like, the vibes are really, really high. Capital letters, right? And so, of course, the follow-up question is, wait, is he going to beat out Carr? Or do we have a quarterback And it was like, no. But they
said no. There's no quarterback controversy right now.
No, there is not. But Chase, we got to keep an eye on this one. I think this is going to be a situation like the ones that we've talked about earlier in the show where you have the veteran quarterback as the starter, like we see in New England, we see in Pittsburgh, and then once things go a little weird, could they be calling for the backup? The New Orleans Saints have a really good quarterback situation right now in terms of if Derek Carr doesn't pan out, they have a lot of confidence in what their backup in Rattler can do.
Yeah. Let's just remember that Caleb Williams replaced Spencer Rattler at Oklahoma, and then Rattler went on to transfer to South Carolina for 22 and 23 season. He was the 5th-round pick, 150th overall. All right, let's move it going. We can't do a show without checking in on the stories of the summer, and it's star players that are still not on the field due to whatever you want to call them, contract issues, holding out. What about Trent Williams? Let's stay on the team.
This one feels better. This one has always felt good. About getting him back in the building. And just so you realize, he's already accrued over $4 million in fines for missing it. Obviously, at 36 years old, he's got a 3-year deal, 77.3 remaining on his current contract. But he wants to be the highest paid left tackle. And we're not going to argue on this show that he has a point.
No, he deserves it.
And they know it too, right? So no one's going, we shouldn't pay Trent. But that in mind, I did speak to a general manager, not in San Francisco, about, hey, what would you do with this Trent situation? He's like, both sides got to give on this one. And I know that probably sounds obvious, but his point was, while Trent is who he is, and we know how remarkable of a player he's older, right? You're paying for what you can do, not what you've done. So they may need to figure out a way to meet in the middle on this. But San Francisco is very motivated to get this done.
And the weirdest one, in my opinion, because it's been really quiet, like Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase. What are you hearing on that?
What's interesting about this one is the Jamar Chase situation resembled Justin Jefferson in terms of how quiet it was, both sides keeping it in-house. It appeared to be going along a timeline that made a lot of sense. And we saw Jamar Chase with 2 years left on his deal here, just like Justin Jefferson had last year, 2 years left on his deal, wants to be the highest paid wide receiver. He wants to at least tie Jamar Chase, maybe $1 more, right? So he's been showing up in practice.
$1 more.
It's like $1 more. Imagine negotiating that. So he's been at practice every day, doing some stuff to the side. And then, as we talked about in the last show, then he shows up and practices with the team during the week. And then Zach Taylor says what he says about expecting to see Jamar Chase week 1, which I feel so bad for Coach because you have to look at it from his perspective. If you decided to practice, then your holding's over, right? You've already shown that you want to be here. And Jamar Chase, from just observing this, looks at it and goes, yeah, not so fast. I don't want you to stop being so motivated to get this deal done. Because both sides are communicating. Jamar Chase's agent is in conversations about a serious contract with the Cincinnati Bengals. They just can't get it done right now. So Jamar Chase wants to make sure they are staying motivated to get this done. And we'll see if he chooses to go the route of Justin Jefferson, which was go play and then get your payday, or perhaps maybe sit out. Or do we see this play out the way we saw Ezekiel Elliott, who happens to have the same agent as Jamar Chase? Remember, Ezekiel Elliott, same situation, 2 years left on his deal, gets paid right before the season starts.
All right, Dianna, before we move on, what is one huge roster move that you found the most interesting during your time covering the cuts the past couple days?
Yeah, there was no big blockbuster name of a cut, but a trade. No. The Rams traded an established starter, Ernest Jones, to the Tennessee Titans. And when you listened to Sean McVay talk about why they made that trade, he said it was a football decision. Okay, so as someone that has covered Sean McVay for many, many years, I will translate what that means. He got beat out. That's what that means. He got beat out, and they realized they don't need him right now. Where Tennessee, they felt like they have a need there. We'll see if he wins that job there. But he's got a knee injury. He didn't practice all spring.
He's a little banged up.
Exactly. So the Rams did probably what they thought was the best football decision, to quote Sean McVay.
How does the Rams defense look now, though? Like, you lose Aaron Donald, you lose a guy that played at a high level in Ernest Jones. Like, what does it look like? So
you go, no Aaron Donald, right? Let's not undersell that. There's no Aaron Donald. Like, that's gigantic.
By the way, quick story. Aaron Donald with my co-host, Shady McCoy. Shady McCoy has a podcast filmed here in L.A. with Deshaun Jackson. It's called 2510. 25, the number for Deshaun, or for Shady. 10, the number for Deshaun Jackson. Okay, they had on their first episode of season 2, they had Aaron Donald on, and he showed me from behind the scenes footage. Aaron Donald beat Shady McCoy in a 30-yard dash. Roasted him so bad that Shady McCoy has a hamstring issue right now. So the dude is still in amazing shape and can play.
Amazing. This is LaShawn McCoy, who's going to be inducted into the Philadelphia Eagles
Hall of Fame.
That's awesome. But look, going back to the Rams defense, from conversations I had with people there on the ground, they always point to the fact that you don't replace Aaron Donald, you don't. But that defense has a lot of confidence. They're really young. And there's some there who feel like their defense is more talented this year than last. Not being disrespectful to Aaron Donald. They would love for him to be back. But that's saying something. And, you think about these superstar players that left their teams, and I immediately think, all right, Aaron Donald's out from the Rams. Jason Kelce no longer with the Philadelphia Eagles, right? That really intrigues me how they replace him. But teams game plan for AD, they don't really do that for Kelce, but now teams, they don't know who to game plan for, which is going to help the Rams. I think that's where they had the advantage this year. And
opens everyone up.
Exactly.
Makes sense.
All right. That was awesome. We hit everything. I think we have to because, the season's starting, but let's start that again. So when you think of these players that were around, when you think of these guys like Jason Kelce, like Aaron Donald, do you think consistency? And there's no more consistent team in the NFL than the Steelers. But does this season feel a little different? We thought we'd ask Arthur Smith about Russell Wilson being named QB1, his looming Week 1 matchup with the Falcons, and how Justin Fields still factors in. Arthur Smith joins the show next. All right, welcome back to Scoop City, where we are in the city of Pittsburgh, where this Steelers team has had tons of success, especially under head coach Mike Tomlin. He's had 14 winning seasons, yet really the coach that always gets a lot of heat is the offensive coordinator. Enter Arthur Smith now, the new guy in town. And Arthur, I know you're fully aware that the offense has struggled over the last few seasons. When you were offered the job, did that come into play at all? Were you thinking, well, there's a lot of work to be done?
I think in any job you take, I mean, things, as you know, change so much year to year. And that's what we sign up for. But when Mike reached out, it's a place I've always revered from afar. A lot of mentors that either played or coached here. And, Mike's a guy that's done it. I think it's him and Andy Reid are the longest tenured, and Mike's been in the one place for so long. And it just couldn't have been a more perfect setup to come in here, and we know we got to work cut out for it. But whether you returning everybody, it always changes year to year.
Yeah. So after a really competitive quarterback competition all summer long, it really seemed to be the story of the summer, because everyone was trying to read the tea leaves and obviously taking Mike Tomlin's words of pole position. Everyone was just trying to figure out who is the best quarterback, and finally we know that Russell Wilson has been named the starter. What have you seen from Russell this camp that makes you believe he won the job?
Well, both those guys have done an excellent job, and it was an unusual situation coming in. I mean, very rarely do you have guys that are in this spot. Normally it's you've drafted a young guy, you've got a veteran you may have signed. I mean, we've all seen that, but in the modern NFL, this is very unusual. Not many comps. And then obviously Russ started camp, and he was a little behind because of the calf strain, but both those guys have done a terrific job. Russ has got a lot of snaps under his belt and won a lot of games in this league. And, he's got a lot of experience and understanding of, especially what it takes to win consistently. So, I really hats off to both of them. They both really competed.
Going back to when Russ had that calf injury, what was he like in the meetings? What was he like to be around when he wasn't actually able to participate? What stood out to you about him?
Well, really both of them are very, they're obsessed with football. I mean, as you have to be to play quarterback. There's a lot of talented players. For a guy that's played, he's been in a lot of offenses lately, very open-minded. And as he was trying to rehab, I mean, he's still, with all those guys, you try to build relationships, listen to them from their experience. Here's what we're doing here. And there's a lot of shared accountability. But both of them are easy to communicate. Like I said, I've gotten to know Russ a little bit over the years, now working with him. It's been fun working. Yeah,
and you've mentioned both quarterbacks a lot in your answers here, because it seems that they've impressed you individually, each of them. But for Justin specifically, what did you really like from his game this year compared to just stuff that you saw when you were studying him on film, whether it was Chicago, Ohio State, wherever?
Yeah, I mean, we did a lot of work the last couple of years in a previous job, and in those situations, you try as hard as you can to get to know the person. The film evaluation is easy. It's the mental aspect, the personality, the fit. And I think, like a lot of young quarterbacks, depending on the situation you come in, there's experiences. You either grow from it or you get bitter. And Justin came in with a lot of humility. He's made a lot of big plays, and he's been eager to work and improve. And then Russ, the same thing. A guy going into 13th year. He's been to a couple Super Bowls, won a Super Bowl. Both of them are very open-minded, and that's what I appreciate really about the whole room.
All right. I know you don't want to give me your playbook. God knows you'll never do that. But are we going to see situations where Russell will be on the field and maybe we'll see Justin out there too?
There's certainly a possibility. There's a fine line. I mean, they're both dynamic players, and you want to use every resource available, and it's tricky. Sometimes you may have a great play, whether it's wildcat, gimmick type thing. It's worked for us in Tennessee. Some other times it can stop the flow of a drive, and it's hard sometimes to ask people to come in cold off the bench, but certainly the opportunity presents itself. I mean, everything's on the table.
Yeah. So I just got back from Denver, where I spent some time with the Broncos, and we were just talking about the difference between their offense now compared to last year. And some of the things that they were bringing up were just some of the quarterback decision making from Russell, right? Some of the sacks he was taking, the turnovers, things that they weren't getting the best out of him, and there's a lot of people to blame for that. Some of those issues that may come out in him this year, how do you work on that with him to make sure that he's not taking that many sacks as we saw last season?
Well, it's the same thing in coaching. There's sometimes you feel like you've got a great play called, and it doesn't work for you may get beat inside or somebody makes a play, and there's other times where you wish you hadn't called something. But if you're not open to learn from it, if you get defensive about the reality, right? So it didn't work. What was the reason why it didn't? Is there something you could have done better schematically? Maybe put a different person in that position there. If you don't have that humility, you'll never improve and you'll make the same mistakes over. But certainly from both those quarterbacks, and when you go back and you evaluate, you talk through things, situational stuff, if they're open-minded, you got a chance to improve. And no matter where you are in your career, whether you're going into year 20 or year 4. And I've seen that from both of them. So, and especially Russ, to your point, whatever happened in Denver happened. But he's coming here with an open mind and gotten to work, and it's been fun to work with him so far.
We're crushing on all these quarterback questions, but how do you feel about your offensive line? We saw some good, we saw some bad, but how do you feel about it now, the season just a few days away?
Some of it in the preseason, you talk about things getting taken out of context. You try to get perspective. A lot of the league doesn't play guys anymore, and you've got to do what you think's best for your team and your unit. And a lot of moving parts inside. You don't want to show too much. You're trying to evaluate. So some things you're trying to, there's no real consequences in the preseason. There's a lot of things you're trying to do situationally. Sometimes you're trying to do apples to apples comparison, even with the play calls. It's comical to me. I said this a week ago whenever I talked last. You think about the two teams that went 0-for in this league. They were, I think, undefeated in the preseason, and you get teams that don't play anybody. They go 0-for, and they're won 13, 14 games. So a lot of it is just personal evaluation, personnel, and that's really what the preseason is for. And then, some of the operation stuff, so you don't have sloppy football early in the year. So you try to get that perspective, but, it's modern society. Everything's so reactionary. But I think the line's done a terrific job. We've had a very hard camp against a good defense. I'm excited about a lot of the young guys we drafted, too.
All right, you have Atlanta, as if this season needed any more drama. You're going back to face the team that you once coached, and a team that you really built outside of quarterback Kirk Cousins. So now here you see so many of the weapons that you were able to be part of and get on that roster, and they dropped in that missing piece that you just really didn't have. What is that like for you to go to be facing the former?
Well, first, same thing. If you're talking about the quarterback experiences, you can get bitter, or you look for, you should be grateful. Nothing's guaranteed in this league. Grateful for my time in Atlanta. Love those players and the staff, and a lot of them are still there that we brought in there. But it's going to be about the players. They added Kirk and they drafted Michael Penix, but you got new schemes, different philosophy. They're so, you're looking at the roster now. There's a lot of familiar faces, but there's some turnover at key positions too. Yeah. Once that's kicked off, and our job is to win that game. It's not going to be a reunion or anything. It's a league. There's a storyline almost every week. It's what makes the league great. But I'm excited. I'm excited with this group and what we've been building here.
All right. This podcast is called Scoop City. So we got to get the scoop. So what is the scoop on the mustache this year? Have we made a decision? Are we committed to it? I feel like you flop around on this thing. What have we decided for this season?
I don't know yet.
Oh, God. Give us an answer, please.
Well, I think it fits
this is the Pittsburgh
well.
way this year, right? Just give no answers to anything.
I kind of did it as a tribute to when Ryan Nielsen and I went on that USO tour to those Army guys. It kind of made me laugh a little bit, the attention it got, and we kind of went with it. And then I get to Pittsburgh and kept getting asked about it. I kind of grown to like it. It's
you like getting asked about it, or you just like the mustache?
No, I don't like that attention. I'm not. I'll shout out Taylor Lewan. I'm not looking for clicks like him and Will Compton, but no, I think it fits Western PA. So we'll see how it goes.
I think the bottom line is always, does the missus like it? That's all that matters at the end of the day.
I think the more attention, good or bad, she just, kind of takes the power away of it. So. All
right, Arjun, thank you so much for joining us. Good luck this season.
Appreciate it.
See you soon.
Back here on Scoop City, lots of questions about what this Cleveland Browns offense is going to look like. Tight end David Njoku joined Scoop City to talk about what it's been like being around Deshaun Watson, what this offense is expected to be this season. And we got a little weird. We went a little off topic on some things that he wanted to talk about, including his hatred of cottage cheese. Here's David.
All right, we are here with Cleveland Browns tight end David Njoku. David, this is the first time I think I've ever interviewed you, and you're wearing a shirt. Why today?
I've been getting a lot of crazy DMs lately, so I want to just kind of keep it a bit censored today.
Yeah, the DMs can be really aggressive. I deal with them as well. Most people want to talk about my feet, though, so I'm sure that's not what they want to talk about with you. Usually it's they want to hang out. No?
Why is it your feet?
I don't know. There's a really big foot demographic out there that I've learned about over the last few years, where there's a world of people, captained by Rex Ryan, perhaps, who just enjoy feet. Now, here's the thing: you're not just any regular football player, not just any regular human being. Back in Nigeria, you're actually, is it technically royalty? How would you describe what you are? What is your true title?
My title is chief. So, I mean, yes, I guess you can say so. It's more so just, a bigger responsibility of making sure my people back there are doing okay, and that responsibility I kind of placed on myself before even becoming a chief, just because I wanted to give back to my people, give them fresh water, food, resources. So, yeah, it just happened to work out.
What a amazing title to have, and a responsibility that comes with that when you have been around the people. How do they behave around you? Is there a way they have to show respect to the chief?
During my chieftaincy, all the females would bow, and initially it was kind of hard to seriously pay back respect, because you see people bowing as kind of like a not normal gesture, especially here in America, so it took me some time to really allow myself to really reciprocate the respect on a serious manner.
Yeah. And this is all because of your family and who they are back in Nigeria. You're one of 9. Do you stay in touch with every single sibling of yours?
I try to, but it's a lot, and then I have cousins, I have uncles, aunts, it's grandmas, so it's not easy to keep in touch with everybody.
Do you feel like you could rattle off all your siblings' names in 10 seconds?
Yeah.
Go.
Innocent, Chelsea, Lisa, Faith, Gladys, Happiness, David, Evidence, Charles.
And you're the 7th, correct?
I'm the 7th.
What do you think the advantage of being 7th in such a long line of siblings?
I mean, lucky number 7 initially, but I don't see it really as an advantage. I'm here to do whatever I can to help my family and vice versa. So it's not really a competition in that aspect. More so just on a competing platform, say playing a sport together or whatever.
Yeah. So as if you needed any more things to make you different, right? Because you certainly stand out on this team, not only just by your sheer presence and your ability, but you also went through a really strange, peculiar accident before that game against the Seahawks last year. Most people know the story now that you were hanging out around a bonfire. Pick it up from there. What then happened that you dealt with burns?
Yeah, so normally I do a little, meditation routine by a bonfire in my backyard. Long story short, ran out of my normal lighter fluid, used a different one, and it blew up in my face. Now, mind you, my eyes were wide open when the whole thing happened, so I should be blind right now, but luckily God is great. It was kind of not exhilarating, but it was a rush, that fight or flight moment came up, and yeah.
And you wound up playing. You powered through, and you obviously came back in the season, and you showed up with the mask, and you leaned into the situation, deciding to wear that mask. Did you come up with that?
Yeah, everyone thought I personally got it made, from a different country or whatever, but I just DoorDashed it from Party City.
You were just ready for Halloween.
Yeah, I mean, but with that being said, every time I took the mask off, parts of my skin on my face would come off with it. So
it was real.
Very limited times I could put it on and take it off.
Yeah. We just ripped through a million different storylines about who you are, but I need to talk to you just about this Cleveland Browns team right now on offense. Just the type of offense this team is trying to get to. What are the Cleveland Browns going to look like, especially with Kevin Stefanski having, full control over what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, honestly speaking, we just work hard every day to really identify ourselves, come up with our true identity. We have a bunch of talents that we can do when it comes to running the ball, throwing the ball, running, routes. Everyone has their own talent, and then we collectively have a great talent. But we're still figuring out our identity as a whole.
Where do you think Deshaun fits in terms of his professional career right now? Where is he at? Have you seen any difference in him, good, bad? Have you seen change in Deshaun this season?
I mean, honestly, I see Deshaun as a very elite quarterback. You feel me? I feel like people don't know just how good he is until we show exactly how good he is, and he will do just that. And I can't wait for that to happen because a lot of people are overlooking him, and I see him every day working hard, and I see the elite status that he can be, and it's just very exciting.
Former Tennessee Titans head coach Mike Vrabel's been working with you one-on-one. You know, what is Mike like? I think people have their thought of what he's like, but now that you've gotten to know him a little bit, what's something about him that maybe we'd be surprised to learn about Mike Vrabel?
Man, that's my guy, man. He's a real character. And people say I'm a character too, so our characters kind of, blend together, and it creates a monster, It's crazy. But he's a very, very dope guy, very down-to-earth man. And yeah, I just love working with him every day.
I know you're learning football details from him and learning how to get better at the position through his perspective from a defensive player, even though he did play the position in New England. In terms of what you're learning from him outside of football, is there anything? Because I know he's a really, really good trash talker.
I think I'm a pretty good trash talker myself.
Keep up with him?
I mean, we go back and forth, so
He doesn't stop.
Yeah, he doesn't stop. He does not stop unless you hit him, below the belt. Otherwise, he doesn't stop.
What would be an example of a below the belt thing that you could say?
Me personally, I can neither confirm nor deny that I do that. It's just more so if you do that, then things get a bit more physical than verbal.
All right, tight end position in general. People have asked you this before about what makes a great tight end. Do you think you have all the traits of a great tight end? Is there something that you wish you just had a little bit more of?
I don't really rank myself, as whatever. I let the people do that, you know what I mean? The people, the fans, I let them rate whoever they want to rate. And I just focus on what I got to do to be better every day.
So there were some reports out there that Amari Cooper perhaps was part of a trade package if the Cleveland Browns were going to go get Brandon Ayuk from the San Francisco 49ers. It doesn't appear that that's going to happen. By any chance, as a player, when you hear about that, do you feel the need to talk to your friend, your teammate about when their name is possibly involved in a trade? How do you handle that personally?
I actually didn't even hear about that, so this is the first time I'm hearing.
Scoop City.
Yeah.
That's the podcast name.
Got the Jews. No, but if I were to hear about it, I would definitely reach out to him to just see where his head's at. I'm sure that, this is a business, but at the end of the day, we build these relationships. These are our brothers, and I'm sure I'm brothers to them as well. So just being there for whoever needs that person to be there for them during those moments.
All right, well, I mentioned this is called Scoop City. Can you give me any scoop right now on the Cleveland Browns? It could be gigantic that I'm going to go tweet it right now, or it could be something small that maybe we don't know that we want to know about the Cleveland Browns.
A scoop? I'd say one of the scoops is I hate cottage cheese.
Oh, so do I.
Hate it.
Why do people like it so much?
I don't know. It tastes bad.
They eat it for breakfast. They put fruit on it. They put eggs on it. Have you?
I don't get it.
That's good scoop. Thanks so much for joining the show. One more thing before I let you go. What's the scoop on your car? What do you drive?
I have a few. Which one?
Wow. What's your favorite one?
I'd say probably my Apocalypse right now. I just got it. It's a 6x6, like a fully souped up Jeep, bulletproof. It's pretty cool.
What color?
Lime green.
Lime green. Why'd you pick lime green?
I mean, it kind of represents Nigeria for me, so thought it was cool.
Well, brighter than ever, just like you, my friend. Just like your future. Thanks so much for joining the show.
Thank you, guys.
Well, that was definitely one of the most bizarre but most entertaining interviews we have done here on Scoop City. But shout out to David Njoku for taking some time and just really letting loose with us. I love people who are so comfortable in their own skin. Before we go here, our Scoop City newsletter, our writer, Jacob Robinson, who does a great job putting that newsletter together for us every day, is getting married this weekend, Chase. And I was texting with him, all excited, congratulating him. And I was thinking, man, I wish I could give him a piece of advice of how to make sure you enjoy your wedding day. Because I know I look back and I made a lot of mistakes. I had a really small wedding because of COVID. But I wish I did a couple things better. And I definitely did some things right. So I figured what's the one thing when you look back at your wedding day with Hillary that you want to share with Jacob and maybe perhaps people getting married that you want to remember on your wedding day?
Yeah, that's a good call. Not this, and this isn't marriage advice.
No,
just so
we'll do
you
that
know.
another show for sure.
Yeah, we'll do. Well, we're gonna have to have a whole show for that. 'Cause I need a lot of it. Hillary and I just celebrated 10 years, so big mark for us. That right, a decade together, and we actually had a conversation. I don't know, a couple months ago. Like, hey, remember our wedding day? Like, you just really are pulled in so many directions that you don't really get to enjoy it. It sounds weird. We had a big wedding, like 280 people. I think we invited 300. We got 280. We're not expecting that big of a wedding, but we just going around talking to people, and we didn't really like. Of course, we enjoyed it at the time, but it flew by. Like I would just say, be present in the moment. And then another thing too, I have two actually. Sorry. Do not book a honeymoon flight the next day at 6 a.m. We went to bed at 1 and we got up at 3:30 to go to the airport. We got no sleep. We went to St. Lucia. We had a stop in Atlanta. That's a bad idea. Don't do that. Like go on the next day. If your wedding's on a Saturday, take Sunday off, relax, spend some time with family, and go Monday.
Yeah, that is really good counsel. I would say something that we did right. I'm sure this doesn't shock you, but I had my phone with me in the limo on the way to the chapel, and then to the chapel. What am I, 1960s? You know what I mean? To the church, to the chapel. That's exactly what I was doing. Oh my God. Every day I wonder if I'm secretly a senior citizen. I kept my phone with me, but I took a lot of video of being in the limo with my grandmother and my parents.
Behind the scenes
exactly.
of the Rossini wedding.
And we had a photographer there, but we have these great video clips on my phone from even right after we got married in the limo, just me and Kev. And they're the best videos we have because we're so happy and excited. And we watch them sometimes when we're feeling really, really sad here in this house. No, I'm just kidding.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I definitely suggest people, you would think, don't bring your phone. Yeah, obviously, you're not texting with people, but bring your phone for the video reasons.
Yeah, so. I like it.
Congratulations to our Jacob Robinson on his big wedding day. Thanks again to Arthur Smith, David Njoku. And make sure you check out our Patrick Mahomes magic article. The Chiefs signature razzle dazzle plays are Jason Jenks and Rustin Dodd put this together. It is one of our biggest stories that are coming out, so make sure you check that out at The Athletic. That'll do it for us here on Scoop City. We will see you next time.
Bye, guys. Tag you next time.
Thanks for tuning into Scoop City. If you want to hear more, make sure you like and subscribe. We drop our new episodes every Tuesday and Friday.